Catherine, the overall question here is how paintings have been affected by technology.
Since the 1960s, artists have been able to, the late 1960s, artists have been able to access digital technology. And of course, in those days, they were producing plotter drawings, and this is when technology was a very early stage of its development. So they had to learn to write code, sometimes build their own machinery. And then as the 1980s arrived, we see developments of paintbox programs coming on stream, such as MS Paint and Quantal Paintbox, and eventually Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. And this allows artists to create all kinds of new techniques, layering, cutting and pasting, photo collage. And we see this to great effect with artists like James Forey Walker, whose work is in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, produces paintings using this method. Also Emily Allchurch, who uses photo montage to create pictures that otherwise wouldn't exist in real life. Particularly, I'm thinking about her Tower of Babel picture.
Well, Catherine, do you think that in this day and age, it's harder to distinguish between high and low art?
Well, I think that these distinctions between so-called high and low art have been vague for some time. And as I say, from the 1960s, there was a real re-questioning of art, its role and its position, and many artists wanting to throw out the traditions and explore new avenues and debates as to what would even constitute art. If we think of someone like Picasso, certainly considered high art, he also produced ceramics. So these distinctions have been vague really for some long time.
Okay, so some artists choose to use technology in their works, whereas others prefer to stay old-fashioned. Can you give me some examples of artists that choose either style?
Well, David Hockney, for example, is a very popular artist. His exhibition a few years ago at the Royal Academy was the most popular exhibition to date, and of course much of his work is done on the iPad now. iPad allows artists to take the equipment with them so they can go out into in situ and work in the landscape or work in cityscapes. And there's no mess, there's no fuss. David Hockney has said that he enjoys using it because it's quick and he can send pictures to friends, so it allows communication.
Well, how about the audience? Do you think people appreciate digitalized art in general?
Oh yes, digital art is very popular now. This is evidenced by the major museums and exhibitions we've had in recent years, starting with Decode at the Victoria and Albert in 2009, and through to Electronic Superhighway at the Whitechapel last year. And then earlier this year, Matt Collishaw had a very popular exhibition at Somerset House in London with a virtual reality work.
Well, there's always this perception that robots are going to take over. So do you think software and machines will replace human creativity and artistic creations in the future?
No, I don't, because computers can only do what we program them and tell them to do. I think that it's important to remember that it takes a human mind and human creativity, human ingenuity to dream up creative things to do with it. And coding and software and machines can help us get there. But at the end of the day, it's what we put into it.
Well, thank you for joining us, Catherine, there from London for us.
Thank you.